depends on how long the runs are. The longer the runs, the more acres you can get. If we can add more to the implements with a little more horsepower, you know, you may be able to push 20 acres a day from a single machine if you can go a little faster and a little wider.
What do you have to do on the turns?
Lift up. I mean, that's,
follow the John Deere arrow.
Yeah, I mean,
It tells you where to point down the next one.
You have GPS so that, you know, we can lay 4 or 6 membranes at any one time, and then you can go, you know, 100 foot down the road or the field, so you can make a nice big corner, drop in, and you just keep going until you fill the entire acre.
Is that your only prototype right there?
Yep,
That's the one.
one in a row.
They made that in Canada?
No, well, the frame was built in Canada, but the part that's on the back has been built here in the U.S.
Here in Michigan.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Just a comment though with regard to what's happening at the end. When we had a 2 chisel system way back 6 years ago, we had 4 guys walking the field,
Right.
cutting it with a blade, holding it so it didn't go crazy, turn around and came back and did it again. Well, you can't do that forever. So now we're developing mechanical and digital systems that will cut it, hold it, place it properly, and we can have it ready, turn around
Yeah, I mean,
what,
Alvin's
in a half a minute or less.
this
Yeah.
particular field, they went through with the chisels 2 feet apart, put in the deep ones, slid over 12 inches in theory, and put in the second set right above it. Well, GPS is better today, and it's still not as accurate as what I think they want it to be. So when we dig up the membranes here, we find that, you know, they weren't perfectly installed one right over the top of the other. Sometimes they were a little bit crowded. Sometimes there was a bigger gap than we wanted. And yet we've been able to find some very substantial yield improvements from a less than perfect installation. I think once we get our machine operating the way we want it to, we get better shaped membranes. We don't have anything crowding the other one. Our results are only going to get better.
One of the challenges we had as well was a question that wasn't answered, I think, until last year, is what happens to the roots when they get to this thing? You know, we're using linear low density polyethylene because it'll stretch 7 times its length before we have any potential ruptures in it. And down at SWRT, the research in southwestern Michigan, excavation showed that the roots, when they reach the membrane, which is full of moisture and nutrients, they don't try and force their way through it looking for deeper soil. They just kind of, through hydro patterning, sense that they're in nirvana, and they lay out nicely. It looks like a bunch of fiber optic cables down in the bottom of the membranes. So those are happy, happy, happy roots. They're being fed, they're being watered. So again, all that carbon that was going to go for yield doesn't get shoved below the soil, and we don't have a 10-foot corn root, you know, heading toward some Permian Basin layer of soil. It's in the membrane, it's happy.
Jim, if a farmer orders one, you know,
These are not for sale to farmers.
Yeah.
We will be installing them for the grower community.
Okay. How long will it take? Let's say this farmer's on the phone on October 1.
Yep.
When can he get this stuff done?
Well, we'd have to call our polymer guy down in St. Louis.
When do you want it?
Essentially, we've got people right now waiting for us, so we would allow them to get in line.
Okay.
And at our worst configuration, our worst speeds, our worst turnaround times is a wooded 1 acre lot. And we're at about 4 acres a day at 2 miles an hour on that.
So you're going to sell those machines?
We are not going to sell those machines.
Oh, okay. I think you're just going to...
We're going to show up in your driveway, demand some sweet tea, and go install on your property.
Okay. So they do not own that machine?
That is correct. Because once they're done with it, what would they do with it?
Nothing.
Because this is only a one-time install.
Be a competitor.
Yeah.
I'm going to send a picture of where we dug roots up of corn just to prove what Jim said.
Oh, good. I need that photo.
There are more roots down here than there ever have been, and they live longer than any corn root that we have measured in the past. There's the extra. That's what happens to roots at the membrane.
Given the life. I mean, if you had a really coarse soil that the water doesn't move through, then you might be benefit to put a little